Section 10 of As a Matter of Course. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Cinda J. M. As a Matter of Course by Annie Payson Call. Chapter 11. Children. Work for the better progress of the human race is most effective when it is done through the children, for children are future generations. The freedom in mature life gained by training that would enable the child to avoid nervous irritants is, of course, greatly in the advance of most individual freedom today. This real freedom is the spirit of the kindergarten. But Froebel's method, as practiced today, does not attack and put to rout all these various nervous irritants which are the enemies of our civilization. To be sure, the teaching of his philosophy develops such a nature that much pettiness is thrown off without even being noticed as a snare, and Froebel helps one to recognize all pettiness more rapidly. There are, however, many forms of nervous irritation which one is not warned against in the kindergarten, and the absence of which, if the child is taught as a matter of course to avoid them, will give him a freedom that his elders and betters lack. The essential fact of this training is that it is only truly effectual when coming from example rather than precept. A child is exquisitely sensitive to the shortcomings of others and very keen as well as correct in his criticism, whether expressed or unexpressed. In so far as a man consents to be taught by children, does he not only remain young, but he frees himself from the habit of impeding his own progress. This is a great impediment, this unwillingness to be taught by those whom we consider more ignorant than ourselves because they have not been in the world so long. Did no one ever take into account the possibility of our eyes being blinded just because they have been exposed to the dust longer? Certainly one possible way of clearing this dust and avoiding it is to learn from observing those who have had less of it to contend with. Indeed, one might go so far as to say that no training of any child could be effectual to a lasting degree unless the education was mutual. When Froebel says, "Come, let us live with our children," he does not mean, "Come, let us stoop to our children." He means, "Let us be at one with them." Surely a more perfect harmony in these two great phases of human nature, the child and the man, would be greatly to the advantage of the latter. Yet, to begin at the beginning, whoever feels the necessity of treating a baby with respect, how quickly the baby would resent intrusive attentions, if it knew how. Indeed, I have seen a baby not a year old resent being transferred from one person to another with an expression of the face that was most eloquent. Women seem so full of their sense of possession of a baby that this eloquence is not even observed, and the poor child's nervous irritants begin at a very early age. There is so much to be gained by keeping at a respectful nervous distance from a baby that one has only to be quiet enough to perceive the new pleasure once, to lose the temptation to interfere, and imagine the relief to the baby. It is, after all, the sense of possession that makes the trouble, and this sense is so strong that there are babies, all the way from 20 to 40, whose individuality is intruded upon so grossly that they have never known what freedom is, and when they venture to struggle for it, their suffering is intense. This is a steadily increasing nervous contraction, both in the case of the possessed and the possessor, and perfect nervous health is not possible on either side. To begin by respecting the individuality of the baby would put this last abnormal attitude of parent and child out of the question. Curiously enough, there is in some of the worst phases of this parent-child contraction an external appearance of freedom, which only enhances the internal slavery. When a man who has never known what it was in reality to give up a strong will prides himself upon the freedom he gives to his child, he is entangling himself in the meshes of self-deception and either depriving another of his own or ripening him for a good hearty hatred which may at any time mean volcanoes and earthquakes to both. This forcible resentment of and resistance to the strong will of another is a cause of great nervous suffering. The greater as the expression of such feeling is repressed, severe illness may easily be the result. To train a child to gain freedom from the various nervous irritants, one must not only be gaining the same freedom oneself, but must practice meeting the child in a way he is counseled to meet others. One must refuse to be in any way a nervous irritant to the child. In that case, quite as much instruction is received as given. A child, too, is doubly sensitive. He not only feels the intrusion on his own individuality, but the irritable or self-willed attitude of another in expressing such intrusion. Similarly, in keeping a respectful distance, a teacher grows sensitive to the child, and again the help is mutual, with sometimes a balance in favor of the child. This mistaken parent-child attitude is often the cause of severe nervous suffering in those whose only relation is that of friendship, when one mind is stronger than the other. Sometimes there is not any real superior strength on the one side. It is simply by the greater grossness of the will that the other is overcome. This very grossness blinds one completely to the individuality of a finer strength. The finer individual succumbs because he cannot compete with crowbars, and the parent-child contraction is the disastrous result. To preserve for a child a normal nervous system, one must guide but not limit him. It is a sad sight to see a mother impressing upon a little brain that its owner is a naughty, naughty boy, especially when such impression is increased by the irritability of the mother. One hardly dares to think how many more grooves are made in the child's brain, which simply give him contractions to take into mature life with him. How many trivial happenings are made to assume a monstrous form through being misrepresented. It is worthwhile to think of such dangers, such warping influences, only long enough to avoid them. A child's imagination is so exquisitely alive, his whole little being is so responsive, that the guidance which can be given him through happy brain impressions is eminently practicable. To test this responsiveness and feel it more keenly, just tell a child a dramatic story and watch his face respond, or even recite a Mother Goose rhyme with all the expression at your command. The little face changes in rapid succession as one event after another is related, in a way to put a modern actor to shame. If the response is so quick on the outside, it must be at least equally active within. One might as well try to make a white rose red by rouging its petals as to mold a child according to one's own idea of what he should be. And as the beauty and delicacy of the rose would be spoiled by the application of the pigment, so is the baby's nervous system twisted and contracted by the limiting force of a grosser will. Water the rose, put it in the sun, keep the insect enemies away, and then enjoy it for itself. Give the child everything that is consistent with its best growth, but neither force the growth nor limit it. And stand far enough off to see the individuality, to enjoy it and profit by it. Use the child's imagination to calm and strengthen it. Give it happy channels for its activity. Guide it physically to the rhythm of fresh air, nourishment, and rest. Then do not interfere. If the man never turns to thank you for such guidance, because it all came as a matter of course, a wholesome, powerful nervous system will speak thanks daily with more eloquence than any words could ever express. End of section 10.